Welcome back to Everyday Garage, and I am excited to announce that we are going to be working back on George the 1968 Ford Torino. I've got George up on some jack stands, and it is time to start working on the next project for this Torino. As I did leave this project basically unfinished, I got to a point to where I was happy with it, but now it is time to get back on the Torino and hopefully bring it the rest of the way to restoration. So the first step on this new series is going to be fixing some mechanical issues that I've ran into while driving George. Some small inconveniences that have made him a little less than desirable to drive at some point. First of those being the steering linkage, and I have a completely new steering linkage kit right here that we're going to replace everything, all of the bushings and a lot of the rods for the linkage. We're going to be replacing all of that in this episode. The car does pull a lot while driving, especially on smaller roads, and the steering has a lot of play and is very sloppy, which does make it a little bit scary to drive when you're on smaller type roads. So in this first episode of this renewed series, we are going to be working on the steering linkage and getting all of this new stuff onto the car. But very quickly, let's talk about what else we're going to be doing in this new little series. Some of the other mechanical stuff I'm going to be doing is we have a leak in the thermostat that has been leaking out coolant for probably over a year now, and I've just never got around to fixing it. So we'll be repairing that, as well as working on some convenience things, such as the door locks. And if you can remember back to the very first episode of the series, this window has never rolled up quite correctly. Once the window is rolled up, there is a lot of air gap that gets in between the window here, and the window never has rolled up very correctly. So I want to go back in, readjust the window, and get that working correctly, maybe even putting all new linkage into the window itself. Small inconveniences like that I will be working on, and the next thing we'll get started on is doing the body work of the Torino. Unfortunately, I cannot afford to have this done by a professional, so we're going to do it ourselves. This is going to involve a lot of things, but starting with the body work, this fender down on this side has a lot of rust damage, which will need to be replaced. As you can see, it's very bubbly. There's a lot of Bondo damage from old Bondo. This window will have to be taken out and resealed as it has a leak, which is causing further rust damage in the side fenders, as well as a ton of dents that will need to be Bondoed and a lot that will need to be pulled. And hopefully we can figure out some sort of situation and get this car painted the best I can and get it looking like a really nice show car. But in this episode, all we're going to be focused on is the steering linkage, so let's go ahead and get on that. So down under the car here, we'll be replacing these arms on both sides, as well as the tie rods and the tie rod ends and the adjuster sleeves and a lot of bushings, hopefully just to make everything tight once again, to make the steering not so sloppy. I'm going to start with the biggest, which are these arms right here. We're going to have to take off that castle nut right there, which should allow that to slide out, and then a couple nuts over on this side. And hopefully we can get that arm out without a problem on both sides and get those replaced first. Let's get started on that. Here's my progress so far. I got one of the arms off, but these two arms in the rear have been insanely stuck, and then this arm now is insanely stuck as well. Probably going to have to take a grinder to all three of them and just cut the bolt heads off, and hopefully that'll allow me to get those off so we can replace them with the new ones. I gotta figure out how to get those off, and then we'll move on to the next step.
Well, it's been a few weeks, and I've still been working on this off and on.
Things got kind of busy, so I had to take a little break.
But today I got most of the rack and pinion out.
I thought it would be easier to get the whole thing out and work on it. Also, I want to give it a nice little paint job, make it look like it's new and nice. Here are the new arms. One goes in right here through that hole, and then one on the other side as well. And then those connect to the tires for the steering to work. So very quickly, I want to just mask this up and give it a nice little black paint job. Just make it
look nice and new. And then we'll get these arms on and we'll get it back in the car.
Okay, now that I've got this part properly painted, let's see if we can get the tie rods onto the tie rod link and get everything fixed up and get it put back into the Torino. So that is the entire rack or pinion or whatever you call it, completely reassembled and ready to be put back in the car. I'm going to very simply bring these back like this so I can screw this piece back into place, and then we'll get everything adjusted and put back into place on the car. Let's do that. Alright, I got the rack and pinion back up there and it is ready for everything else to be reinstalled. But next we have run into another issue. The kit came with these ball joints like this, and you can see them right here. They are very, very nasty, so it would be fantastic if I could get them replaced. And this one should be absolutely no problem. It's got the 4 bolts, 2 on each side, just like this here. But let's go to the other side. This one, however, only has 2 bolts. Those aren't even bolts. I'm not even sure. I'm gonna have to grind those heads off to even get it out. And this one's just as messed up, but I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to replace it because there are no bolt holes. This is a problem. Once I figure out the solution, I will let you know what I did, but yeah, I gotta figure that out. After further research, I have decided to just completely replace these upper control arms that come with these new ball joints for both sides. So I got the 2 upper control arms for both sides ordered and they're on their way. But while I have that out, I'm also going to replace the shocks because why not? I mean, they're so convenient now to replace these. I mean, I'll have the spring out and everything, so why not just go ahead and replace the shocks on both sides and get a higher quality ride. So while I wait for these to come in, I'm going to go ahead and take out the shock, go ahead and take this off and get it set down. We're also going to be cleaning and repainting the back cowls here and just seeing what I can do to make this look better while it's off. I've already got that side off, but I want to go ahead and get started on getting the shock out and go ahead and get this one off, and let's do that right now. I finally got my new spring compressor here and got the first side of the spring out, and now we are left with this. I also have the upper control arms and the new shocks that just came in. So I'm going to get the spring out on the other side and then get both of the upper control arms out. And I also want to clean this area and repaint it with some of this undercoating like I've done here while I've got the space. And then we'll work on putting all the new stuff in and putting everything back and getting the steering linkage reassembled. Okay, that is every part we are going to be taking out of the car. Next time, we are going to come in with all the new stuff and going to be restoring all of these parts because these are all the parts that will be going back in the car. Hopefully we can get them looking very, very nice and new. We might even try powder coating some of the springs and some of the other parts to make them look even better than just regular spray paint and last longer, of course. And then we'll be getting everything, including all of the new parts, back into the car and getting everything reassembled. I was really hoping to get everything done in this video, but I started this video about 2 months ago. I want to go ahead and get something out to you guys so you don't think I'm dead. And then next time, we will start on replacing all of the parts and getting George back on the road again. It has been far too long and there is way too much dust built up on this car. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and I will see you next time. Later.